Hey, welcome to Felcraft. I'm Hammy, and today we're going to be taking a look at the new hero in Heroes of the Storm, Sylvannas Windrunner, the Banshee Queen herself. So without further ado, let's jump on into game. We're going to do in this short intro a quick look at Sylvannas in test mode for a video of Sylvannas in action in an actual game. Check the link below, or we'll link it at the end of the video. So Sylvannas, the Banshee Queen, familiar to those from World of Warcraft. Before she became the Queen of the Undercity, she was of course the Ranger General of Silvermoon back in the higher elf days, but I am no lawmaster. However, Arthas, familiar to some as the Lich King, of course, the Wrath of the Lich King in World of Warcraft, decided to slay her, and she became the first Banshee. Having broken free of control, she then looks after the Forsaken, pretty much all of the undead in Turstval and surrounding areas. What does that mean for us in Heroes of the Storm? Well, Sylvannas has got quite a bit of legacy. You'll see her in Hearthstone, a bunch of other games, of course, from the original Warcraft RTS games as well, and she has a whole bunch of abilities. As you can tell, she's a very proficient archer, and she's going to be jumping in as a range specialist. So if you're new to MOBAs, if you're new to Heroes of the Storm, this kind of game, quick definition of range specialist: someone from ranged, obviously they're going to be firing at range and keeping themselves a little bit further away from the thick of the action, but still doing damage. So your positioning as a ranged character, if you're new to this kind of game, is key. Ranged characters generally tend to be a little bit squishy. They are not so good at taking a whole bunch of damage, and therefore you're going to want to make sure that you position yourself reasonably away from the battle, but close enough that you can do damage, support your team, and so forth. You're not going to be a melee character. You're not swinging in with a sword or anything like that. If you get caught in a tight spot, you'll probably take a bit of pain. Now, specialists in Hero of the Storm are interesting. They have, as they suggest, they're not a traditional tank. They're not a traditional sort of healer or anything like that. What they tend to do is fulfill a role particularly well. You have some that are great at jungling. Jungling, of course, being going around in the middle of the map between lanes and taking out minions. You have others that are maybe particularly good at siege, really good at taking out enemy bases. Sylvannas looks as though that she has some utility. It looks as though she's got some split push. We'll see how that all goes when we jump in and try her in a game. Abilities: Withering Fire. Shoot the closest hero for 25 damage. Preferring heroes stores 5 charges. You gain 1 charge on nearby enemy minion or mercenary deaths, and 3 charges on nearby enemy hero deaths. So a nice targeted fire there that can do some damage. Shadow Dagger deals 10 damage and an additional 40 damage over 2 seconds to a target unit, and the effect spreads to nearby units, nearby targets. So that is kind of looks like an area clearing ability. That means that if you're using that on packs of mobs, or maybe a bunch of heroes in a small tight space, then that can be helping do area damage and help clear packs a little bit more quickly. Next up we have Haunting Wave. Sending forth a wave of banshees, dealing 30 damage to all targets, and reactivate to teleport to the banshee's location. That sounds like a nice little spell, not only for doing some fixed damage. The wave of banshees is probably going to move in a straight line, I'm thinking. So it's going to be moving from one point to another. We'll have a look at that when we jump into try mode, but also that reactivate to teleport, a nice way of harassing and moving around as Sylvannas. I think that when you get used to using this ability, you're going to be able to, for example, send a wave of banshees in from one direction. You can then decide to perhaps travel in from another and attack. Maybe if your opponents come and attack you from one direction, you can then teleport to the banshees and run away. So a nice way of jumping around and getting in and out of harm's way. We then have a trait: Black Arrows. Attacks and abilities stun minions, mercenaries, and towers. Now this is a very interesting one. This sounds as though it will give Sylvannas some good pushing ability. And also note the stunning of towers. Stunning of towers and towers not firing back means that Sylvannas should have some really good siege ability. So let's have a look and see how well she can do in terms of siege. Last but not least, 2 heroic abilities. We'll have a look at these in try mode. Wailing Arrow. Shoot an arrow that explodes for 200 damage and silences nearby enemies for 2.5 seconds. Well, silence is always important in this kind of game. Say, for example, I fire this on an enemy healer and they're unable to heal when we're in a team fight. Say there's someone with a stun, I can silence them. Take Nazebo the Witch Doctor with his very dangerous and powerful ultimate ability, Gargantuan. If you can interrupt people, and people will talk about interrupts in this kind of game if you knew, that is powerful. There are some big heals, there are some very big other heroes' abilities. If you're in a 5-on-5 team fight, that silence could be very useful, and 2.5 seconds is actually quite a long silence. The arrow does good damage. It can be reactivated to detonate the arrow early, which is interesting. We're going to have to see how that goes. It looks though it's a channeled ability. If it's firing from one side of the map to the other, or firing in a straight line perhaps, rather than being targeted, then you can get it to detonate early. Perhaps you can get it to detonate before it gets to where you want it to. So it sounds as though that's going to be a straight line ability. Let's jump in and see what that looks like. Now, Heroes of the Storm, brilliant in the fact that you have this try mode. You don't have to wait for a hero to be free to play if you want to just try it out against bots. So any new hero that you're taking a look at in Heroes of the Storm, go into try mode first. You don't have to buy the hero, you don't have to spend your hard-earned gold or anything like that on it. Just jump into try mode in the store. So go to the store page for the hero, hit try mode. Obviously a lot of people joining Heroes of the Storm in beta. If you're new to Heroes of the Storm in beta, go into the store, go into try mode. So this try mode lets you try out a hero in a one-lane environment with a couple of bots and a couple of NPCs. I'm just going to turn the game sound back on. The reason that I had it off is because when you're in the store page, you have a hero basically standing there, emoting and making a bunch of noise. So they say the same thing a bunch of times.
Done.
There we go. So here we have Sylvannas ready to rock and roll. What we're going to do is just level ourselves up. So you can see here I can level myself all the way up to level 20, which gives you everything you like. Question, how long on average does it take to make enough gold to buy a hero? It's not too bad. A 7k one, you can, by playing a few games, the daily quests are fairly generous, and as you level up your hero and as you level up various different heroes, you get gold as you go. So by natural play, it shouldn't take more than maybe, I don't know, it depends how much you play, but if you do a few sessions, I'd say maybe more than a couple of days. For sort of a cheap one, you can get a couple of days, a mid one maybe in 3 to 4 days, but I'm not basing that on an entire day of play.
Of course.
Alrighty then, let's keep on leveling up our hero. We're here to have a look at Sylvannas. So you can see, hit level 20, and there we go. And we'll have a look at the talents before we jump in and see how Sylvannas works out. So introducing our heroes here, we have Malfurion, he's the bot who you always join in this lane, and we will see Arthas, the comedy villain who always gets a little bit of a beating. Righty, so talents, let's pick a spec. We will try and show you both ultimates, both heroic abilities in action, but we will pick some specs and just have a broad think as to how they might work. So, level 1 talent with the wind increases Withering Fire's range by 25%. I like the sound of that. Anything with more range on your range abilities, that's kind of a safe pick. So generally with ranged heroes you can go for more damage or you can go for more range, broadly speaking, or more escape. More disengage, as some people will call it. So generally when I'm new to a ranged hero, I pick things that give me more range, that give me more get out of jail frees, ways that allow me to escape more easily. So more Withering Fire range, I'm quite happy to be using my abilities at more range, so that's a safer option but pretty useful. It will mean that you can stay out of harm's way more. Reduce the cooldown of Shadow Dagger by 2 seconds. Well, more Shadow Daggers more quickly. If I've got the mana, then that means I can be doing more damage to groups of units. That's going to be quite a good farming, clearing ability if I've got a bunch of minions in lane. Barbed Shot, Withering Fire deals 200% bonus damage to minions and mercenaries. That's quite clearly going for a lane pushing build. That's going to mean that I can clear groups of minions more quickly. Ditto for mercenaries. Basic attacks destroy ammo. This is a trait that you can see in other heroes. That is specifically Siege, if you really want to be pushing lanes and pushing towers. If you destroy ammunition, remember that your Sylvannas attacks with your trait also stun towers for a second. So if you're stunning a tower and destroying its ammo, you have a Sylvannas on your team, you'll be able to siege a lane very, very quickly indeed. So for illustration of abilities for the time being, I think most of these do what they say on the tin. We're going to go for with the wind.
Choose a talent.
Paralysis increases the duration of Black Arrow by 100%. What is Black Arrow? Interesting. Let's work out what Black Arrow is. I can't see Black Arrow. Oh, Black Arrow's duration. That's probably going to... Oh, Black Arrows, there you go. Black Arrows is actually the name of your trait. So you've got a 2-second stun rather than a 1-second stun. That is quite valuable. It's going to make tower killing a lot quicker and also clearing minion groups quicker too. Whenever you gain a Withering Fire charge from killing a minion or hero, while at maximum charges, it is automatically fired. So this basically is kind of like a shower of bullets, so that will be quite interesting to have a look at. Using Haunting Wave to teleport, refuse all charges of Withering Fire. That's kind of a sustainability. That will let you fire out your Haunting Wave, and then it will mean you can start sieging again with Withering Fire. We're going to take this one because I think it will be quite interesting to see if we can combo that to clear waves of minions quick. Cooldown of 60 seconds, activate the poison enemy hero, dealing 780 over 5. That's again a generic one that you can get with a bunch of heroes.
Choose a talent.
Unstable poison. Minions and mercenaries that die under the effects of black arrows explode, dealing 255 damage to nearby enemies. Well, that's brilliant for, again, group clearance. If we're comboing that, we can do our Withering Fire on a group of mercenaries, we can fire a Haunting Wave that refills our Withering Fire, and then when the enemies die, they explode, killing mercenaries even more. So this is effectively ability. If you chain it together with some other abilities, it will let you clear minion and mercenary groups even faster. So at the moment, we're kind of going for a minion mercenary clearing build. Sustain there. Shadow Dagger heals you for 80 each time it spreads to a new enemy. That's great for keeping you alive and in lane. So here I can do more damage with Unstable Poison. Life Drain will let me heal myself up more quickly. So again, that's a sustain ability there. Will let you stay alive in lane for longer. Follow Through, perhaps slightly unfortunately named, but using an ability in Power's next attack. That's a generic you can get with a bunch of heroes. Mercenary Lord also. Nearby mercenaries are stronger, again a generic. And Haunting Wave grants stealth, very interesting. So remember that with Haunting Wave, if you reactivate Haunting Wave, you teleport to where your banshees are. Now if I use Haunting Wave when I grant stealth, that means I can fire a Haunting Wave, stealth around, and then fire from a different angle. I can then activate Haunting Wave again, and teleport back. So that could have some fun abilities. So I think that for the moment, let's try Unstable Poison.
Choose a talent.
Because I'd like to look at this clearing, this wave clearing ability. So we will try both heroics. We'll come back and respec and try both heroics. For the time being, we're going to go with Wailing Arrow to take a look at that. Overwhelming Affliction, level 13. Black arrows now also apply to heroes, slowing their movement speed by 5% for duration. Stacks to 5 times. Interesting. So black arrows, does that mean that they stun heroes as well? That is pretty tasty if they're stunned and their movement speed is slowed. So if it stuns heroes, so we need to try that out. I think I'm going to take that to see if we can actually stun heroes. Evasive Fire, 10% movement speed for 2 seconds whenever an enemy is hit, stacking up to 30%. So that is a great example of evasiveness of disengage. Remember we talked at the beginning of this, for ranged heroes you can broadly take 2 or 3 different builds. You can take a evasiveness, a survivable build, or you can take a more hardcore damage build. The third kind of thing you can take generally is something that will do a lot of damage to heroes. So Evasive Fire will help you dodge, always good. Withering Fire hitting a second target, 464, again that's more of a damage clearing build, and Spell Shield is a generic. I'm going to take Overwhelming Affliction here because I want to see if we can stun heroes with it. Windrunner, you can cast Haunting Wave twice, double the damage. After you teleport you can cast a second one for 3 within 2 seconds, so Haunting Wave from one direction, you can teleport back to it and then cast another, very interesting. And of course if you combo that with the stealth you can be jumping all around the place. Cold Embrace, Shadow Dagger makes enemies vulnerable, taking 25% more damage, but the range of Shadow Dagger is decreased. So that is real. You can clear packs more quickly, but you need to get closer. So you can see you're trading off increased damage potential for decreased maneuverability. Having to get closer as a ranged class to your enemies or to packs is a bit dangerous. So if you're confident in your evading ability, Cold Embrace could be the talent for you. Will of the Forsaken, become unstoppable, again 30% movement speed for 3 seconds. That is very much like the Will of the Forsaken in World of Warcraft. There are other units who have similar abilities, or other heroes in Heroes of the Storm who can trigger unstoppable. So that basically means you can't be stunned, you can just get out, and you can't be slowed either, so you can just run the increased movement speed. That's kind of a get out of jail, holy moly, I need to escape, instant escape kind of button. Blood for Blood, slow and still health, again that's a generic. So I'm going to go for Haunting Wave twice. I think that's going to be an interesting one. Finally, at level 20 you can buff up your heroic, so I'm going to go for increased power of Wailing Arrow Centre, but you've also got a teleport away, Bolt of the Storm, Fury of the Storm, basic attacks chaining. Basic attacks chaining will, again, that's a really good way if you don't buff your heroic and you're focusing on clearing lanes and camps. Fury of the Storm, a really good pick. Bolt of the Storm, another get out of jail free. I'm going to go for Deathling Blast. Right then, so we're going to toggle minions. Off we go. Minions and bots are of course on, so let's get out into lane and actually see how Sylvannas works. So let's go into the bush. Malfurion against Arthas. Let's take a look at Withering Fire. So you shoot the closest enemy for some damage. So you can see that as I hit Withering Fire there, it just shoots the closest enemy, prefers heroes, and restores 5 targets. If anything dies, I get charges back. But basically, you can see that I'm hitting Q, and I'm spamming this for damage on Arthas at the moment, but you can see that it then slowly recharges. Now, it just shoots the closest enemy, so I can't actually target Withering Fire. You can see that as I mouse over Withering Fire, it's got a radius. So if I wait for Withering Fire to come back to life, you can see that if I'm here and hitting Withering Fire, I can focus it onto minions. You can basically see that if I'm farming a group, what I want to do is make sure the closest minion to me is one that's going to die soon. If I can get that killing blow on a minion or mercenary, then it's going to recharge me by 1. So that's the way you're going to try and use Withering Fire. Use it to pick off minions by positioning yourself correctly, or you can see me standing here, you can see it slowly recharging. I can do some damage to heroes like so. I'll throw down 5 of them very quickly, so that's really how quickly can you press that button. Okay, Shadow Dagger. This does 80 and an additional 320 to a target unit, and the effect spreads to nearby. So I'm going to get in here and throw that in. It's best probably on a group of minions. So I'm going to wait and see if we can get a group of minions here. I'm going to let Malfurion get a little bit killed and maybe let the minions push out a little bit. So we can see how this does in terms of clearing packs. The effect spreads to nearby. Okay, so I'm going to throw that right in the middle there. I'm going to throw in our Shadow Dagger. Throw in some more of those. You can see the effect bounce, so it spread to nearby units. So that you throw in the middle of a pack and then follow up with Withering Fires to clear a pack of minions. But also you can throw it in the middle of some heroes, of course, as well. So Sylvannas, you can see that I'm actually using my black arrows here. And you can see that I'm firing at this tower. The tower is stunned. And I'm also... minions can explode, and I've also got hero effects as well, so I need to have a little shoot at Arthas and see that if I can actually stun him with my basic attack, if I can get close enough. In the meantime, seems to be a good time that we can try out Haunting Wave. So remember, we can find us once. There goes my Haunting Wave. I can press okay. Right, so Black Arrows is not actually stunning any heroes. That would be imbalanced probably if it was. You can see my basic attack is not stunning, but it is decreasing movement speed. So let's take a look at this Haunting Wave in a bit more detail. Sends forth the wave of Banshees, reactivate to teleport to the Banshee's location. There we go. So the Banshee Wave doesn't actually last for too long, but if I then reactivate it, I teleport to the beginning of the Banshee Wave.
Their defenses fall.
So if I throw that, I teleport, and then cast another. So interesting, I can also teleport twice. So the Haunting Wave, you don't have too much time to be able to actually cast, but watch, if I fire it once with the talent combo I have, I can teleport to it, fire another one, and then teleport to that. So you can effectively move very, very quickly. So I can fire it to do some damage to people, of course, to 250 damage to all targets. I can teleport to get close in, so you can use Haunting Wave as a gap reducer, as a gap closer. I can use this to, you see how far that wave goes? I can actually zip across there and I'm unstoppable while that happens. Now, if I'm very quick, within 2 seconds of teleporting after that Haunting Wave, I can cast another for free. So I could do this kind of ninja maneuver, for example. Find myself here, jump in, fire it back, and jump back. Now obviously I'm waiting at that stage for the Banshees to travel the biggest distance so I can go the furthest time. But remember that those Banshees actually also do damage. So if I need to catch someone up, I can close a gap very, very quickly. So watch how far I can travel. And that's me doing it fairly slowly. So if someone has run away, if someone's far away, I can jump into the middle, I can jump there, I can jump quite a long distance without Haunting Wave. I think we'll see some good players using that as much as a gap closer as anything else. So last but not least, let's take a look at Wailing Arrow and see how that goes. Let's refresh the forts, let's get everything reset. So Wailing Arrow shoots an arrow that explodes for 600 and silences enemies for 2.5 seconds. You can reactivate it to detonate the arrow early, and then I've taken Deafening Blast, which is going to do 50% more damage and silences things for twice as long. So this was as I suspected. This is a directed spell with a finite range, as you can see here. Where's Malfurion? Come on, Malfurion. There we go. Got the minions and bots back on. So I'm going to fire a Wailing Arrow. We can see the distance that it can go. Remember that this will silence. Because we've got this pack of minions, I'm going to just quickly throw down my various things and see how quickly I can clear a pack. There you go, so we saw the Shadow Dagger in the middle there, fired a Haunting Wave, and followed up with Withering Fire. That cleared that path very, very quickly. We can also get up, if I stop firing at this tower, you can see that I've stunned the tower. So my repeated black arrows are just stunning that tower. It doesn't matter that I'm not removing ammo from this tower. You can see how fast my attack is at level 20 as well, so that is very fearsome when it comes to siege. Last but not least, let's try out this Wailing Arrow. So I'm going to get relatively close to Arthas. Fire that, there goes the Wailing Arrow. I missed. You can see, so that arrow would actually explode for 600 damage at the end of its path, but I can press R to reactivate it early, so if I clear cooldowns, I'm going to try that again. So you can see it just goes through. I need to activate it. It's not just going to explode on the target, so I need to shoot like that. And there we go. So clear cooldowns again. So if I wave an arrow like this, we can see that it needs triggering. I can also use it for a bunch of damage as well. There we go. So I'm just going to reset levels, so we can just take a look at Sylvannas' second heroic ability, and that is the Possession heroic. Apologies for the clicking and also the dog snoring. Right, so we'll take a few different talents, take a bit of a look at Withering Fire. Let's take a look at the increased damage.
Choose a talent.
Let's maybe have a look at the free Withering Fire, Haunting Wave, refilling Withering Fire, see what we can do with that perhaps.
That will suffice.
That will suffice indeed. Shadow Dagger healing, Haunting Wave granting stealth could be quite interesting. We'll take Possession. Withering Fire with move speed. Let's see how much we can do with that. Double Haunting Wave we already went for, maybe. I still think we'll grab Windrunner. And then the Dark Lady's Call, increased bonus. So increase the attack damage and health bonus to 30% and allows possession of enemy mercenaries with a 20-second cooldown. So this heroic possession forces an enemy minion to fight for you, it gains additional attack damage and health, and then you have a longer cooldown when you use on catapults. So catapults obviously a slightly stronger minion, of course, in a general minion wave. Dark Lady's Call increases the basic attack damage, also lets you take mercenaries with a 20-second cooldown. So taking mercenaries will be very, very interesting. As to how big a mercenary you can actually take, we'll have to try that when we actually get into a game. Okay, so let's just try out Heroic. Heroic is not going to let me... Oh, an enemy minion. Okay, let's take an enemy minion. There we go. So, at a very basic level, that is giving us a minion that lets us fight for us.
My will is my own.
The mana cost for that wasn't actually massive. Only 20 mana, so you can keep nicking enemy minions probably as much as you like. So you can see basically this ability I can spam relatively a lot, but you'll get a much bigger cooldown than the 4 seconds if you're taking a mercenary or something. So I think the real use of this won't be on small minions in lane, although of course it will help, but it will be how you can use it with big enemy mercenaries. So you really want to get it upgraded, so until level 20 when you can actually get enemy mercenaries rather than minions. I'm not entirely convinced on how strong Possession is going to be. It will give you a little bit of health in the early to mid game, but you've seen that Sylvannas' abilities are pretty fearsome when it comes to sieging and indeed camp clearance. Let's teleport away. So that is our quick look at Sylvannas. Thanks very much for tuning in. If you're live on stream, don't go away. We're going to take a quick look at Sylvannas in a game. If you're on YouTube...
The Dark Lady watches over you.
The Dark Lady is watching over us indeed. I'm just going to note the sound for the time being. So if you're on YouTube, then do take a look at the link in the top left of the screen, because we're going to jump into a game and show you Sylvannas in action in a real match, which will be great to see her skills in action. Thanks very much for tuning in. In the top left you can see our longer videos we just said. If you want to take a look in the top right, you can see more of our hero introductions, more of our game guides and Heroes of the Storm's intros for new players, whether you're a new player to Heroes or MOBAs, or whether you're a experienced player but just jumping into Heroes. Take a look at our introductions and little gameplay guides of all the heroes there in the Heroes Half Hour. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully see you soon. Take it easy.